But in a way, it puts a lot of onus on us, the teachers, to make those face-to-face encounters unmissable. I think the biggest change, and this has been in a lot of articles I've read in, I suppose, things like the Chronicle of Higher Education and some of the more, I guess, popular pedagogic journals and articles, is that students are less inclined to come along to face-to-face, despite the fact that they missed a lot of face-to-face during the pandemic. Face-to-face is less popular. And I think part of that is because they've got much more access to digital resources, and those digital resources which saw them through the pandemic, and actually which many of us spent a lot of time and thought developing during the pandemic, are almost sort of countering our move to get them back into the classroom, because they're going, well, there's these great digital resources out there that I can use, so I don't necessarily need to go to every face-to-face encounter with the professor, with the lecturer. And I think to a certain extent, that's good, because actually it allows students to go for the learning materials that best suit their learning style and that they learn most from. But in a way, it puts a lot of onus on us, the teachers, to make those face-to-face encounters unmissable. And that's quite a lot of pressure, in a sense. In a way, I think what we'll need to do is we'll need to put the same kind of thought and effort that we put into developing those digital resources into developing really exciting face-to-face encounters, really exciting face-to-face sessions that will engage students and bring them back onto campus. And I think that's probably one of the biggest changes. The use of the digital resources particularly tends to be quite sporadic, I think, and this is something, I guess, that you tend to see where you've got the learning analytics, and that's something that I found using Connect with my master's students. I was able to see how they were accessing, when they were accessing stuff in a much easier way than I could from my own university's VLE data. And I have to say that's always been one of the big sells for me with Connect, is that I can just literally click a couple of things and I've got a report which shows me what's going on. Whereas if you're using some of the other VLE setups, you have to get somebody to run a special query for you, or you've got to go through quite a rigmarole to actually get out the data in the same way. So having that instant sort of dashboard stuff is really helpful. And you see that the use of the materials, for the keen students, they're using it all the time. They're kind of, they do follow the structure that you set out in your curriculum. They're doing the exercises on a weekly basis that you've set for them. For others, it tends to be something where it's quite sporadic. That they will dip in, they will do some of the exercises you've set, then they'll disappear for 2 or 3 weeks, and then they'll come back and they'll do another sort of intensive burst. For those, certainly some of my colleagues that have run exams, they tend to find that everything bunches up in the preparation for the exam. So it tends to be sort of, I guess that's the students that in the past we would have called crammers, the ones that disappeared for the sort of 3 or 4 weeks before the exam because they were just intensively revising for that. And we can see that in quite a stark way, I think, when you look at the learning analytics.